Yeah, what's going on, people? The Discourses of Livy by Niccolo Machiavelli, chapter 10. And the reason why it's chapter 10, the other content that I created, the book that I have, it has the chapters disorganized for some reason. So the one that I made called chapter 1 is actually chapter 2. The one that I made that's chapter 2 is actually chapter 3. The one that I made that's chapter 3 is actually chapter 4. And from chapter 4, it skips straight to 10. And it's about the founders of republics and kingdoms are to be praised as much as founders of tyrannies are to be censured. So he was making the distinction between things that'll get you praised and things that'll get you blamed. Things that'll have you praised will provide security. Things that get you blamed provide insecurity. No safety net. And he used an example with Caesar. And Caesar went viral for him being a co-conspirator in trying to overthrow the Roman government. With this dude named Catiline was the one that planned it out. So he uses a quote in saying that one who commits an act of evil is more to be blamed than the one who merely plans to commit it. So if you get caught basically trying to do something, you can hang it up. And then he even went so far as to show how when you so powerful, people will align themselves with your enemy just because they can't do nothing about your success, your power, whatever it is, because as a result of all that, it was a situation between Brutus and Caesar. Now, Brutus was around Caesar throughout a portion of Caesar's life. So they had built rapport or whatnot. And Brutus wound up assassinating Caesar based on the grounds that he was being a dictator. Not to get into all that, but just the fact that people couldn't criticize or say nothing about Caesar because he was so successful, they teamed up with his enemy, with his adversary. And, you know, that just shows you human nature. And then he even went on to speak about, the things that'll get you killed and the things that won't get you killed. So if you take notice of all the emperors in Rome that stayed within the Roman laws, they all was safe. The people loved them, you know, because of their good behavior. The Senate loved them. And most of all, besides them loving them, they protected them. They didn't need guards, troops. They didn't need none of the things that emperors needed at the time to provide security for them. Now then, if you look on the flip side, you had emperors that did not. They did the opposite of what they did. They didn't abide by the laws. And as a result, you know, they got assassinated, including Caesar. More of them, some of them didn't, but most of them did. The majority rules. So if you study how that went, then you'll see. But, you know, he was saying that unless you got fortune and ability, you don't stand a chance in those situations like that. And even if you look at earlier this year in July, the Haitian president Havanel, he got assassinated. So it was a weakness somewhere. in this situation. And most of all, he was speaking about obtaining power by inheritance and by adoption. And you know, when you inherit something, you more likely to fuck it up because you didn't have to put in the work to get that position. But most of the time when power has been adopted, that mean they had to will themselves in a position of power. And the distinction he made that the ones that was inheriting the power, they ruined the position at the time. And by the same token, the ones who obtained power by adoption, they had some of the best rules. They had a positive rule. Everybody enjoyed it. The judges, the Senate, the citizens, everybody was satisfied. So it just go to show you a little bit about that too. And he also was saying things like, if you find a corrupt city, it's better to reform it, like Romulus did, than to completely destroy it. So if you take America, you take somewhere like Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, Detroit, Oakland, all the top corrupt cities, so to speak. You know, if you acquired those cities, it would be better for you to reform them than to fuck them all the way up. You know. But at the end of it, he was basically saying, you know, you got two routes. One leads to security and fame after death. And then the other road leads to, you know, no glory and infamy after death. So the choice is yours, you know, on whether you rather be praised or to be blamed.